Look at sports news a little bit later for you with Arthur Bonakawa. First, Rand Water has just begun their scheduled infrastructure maintenance at this moment. It means water cuts in large parts of Johannesburg. A major pipeline will be worked on over the next 4 days. Now, according to Joburg Water, supply will be reduced by different amounts in different parts of the metro. So what exactly do we need to know if you are living in Johannesburg? Senior reporter Aviwe Mtila finding out for us this evening. Let's go live to him now. Aviwe, good evening to you. And there's a lot of concern that we're going to have no water in Johannesburg. Give me a sense, is that what you're understanding this evening?
Well, for most of today, Gareth, we've seen a lot of people scramble to their water shops, trying to get as much water as possible, of course, as they brace for 7 o'clock. And it is, in fact, just after 7 p.m. now, where we're expecting the official shutdown. That's because of the maintenance by Rand Water to be underway. We are told that by Friday, 5 o'clock in the morning is when we can expect the water to be back. But it seems that may not be the case, Gareth. We heard, in fact, just earlier on from Councillor Irman Musa, who is, of course, heading the infrastructure development in and around Johannesburg, suggesting that it may take just a couple more days to get the water running and fully functional. In fact, he suggests that it may take something up to 4 to 14 days for that water to be functional. But of course, a lot of panic from Johannesburg residents, some of them already filling up their bathtubs to ensure that they have some bathing water for the next couple of days. What they won't be doing, though, is the laundry. In fact, I have one of the patrons here. I'm at Rosebank at the moment. I just want to get maybe an idea. I understand you live in Bedford View, where you're not expecting the water shortages now, but you're telling me that you have water shortages. Well, you're used to them, no?
Yes, no, we're very, very used to them there in Bedford View. We get them quite regularly, so we're mostly prepared sometimes. So we're quite used to having water just not with us.
How do you prepare for such, especially the Johannesburg residents that are watching now? What do you do differently, given that you are used to these water shortages? What have you done differently, or what advice can you give our viewers?
Well, the only advice I can really give is to just prepare for the worst, always. So whether it's with 20-litre, those big jerry can jug things, fill them with water, get ready for, shower in the morning, drinking water, stuff like that. Always have them handy and ready. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck with no water, trying to shower in the morning in your pool or wherever, asking mates for help, So just have those 20 litres of those jugs ready for just the worst case scenario.
Okay, thank you very much. And in fact, Gareth, we've seen a lot of people around Johannesburg heading to these water shops, filling up those 20 litres. I myself am one of them, I must confess, that filled up my own 25-litre of water just to ensure that I have sufficient supply of water to drink over the next couple of days. But of course, even those water shops are starting to run out of water now. One we were at earlier on in Lenasia suggested that in an hour or so, they may have to turn customers back because they essentially ran out of water. Another we spoke to in around the Randburg area suggested that they needed a break of some sort, at least some 10 or so minutes to fill up their pumps once more as their water storage tanks had run out of water. But of course, there is that fear that while Rand Water tells us that by 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday, that maintenance will be done and we can expect the water back in our taps, there are those fears that we heard from Council that it may take just a bit longer, some 4 to 14 days. In fact, that's a conversation that we had a bit earlier on with Irman Musa, who heads just the infrastructure development around the city of Johannesburg. Let's take a listen to that.
We also have several trucks roaming around in Lenasia for old residents, etc., where we can provide water and make it convenient and easy for residents in Lenasia to ensure that they have water. So, I'm sure that this will ease the burden of, provision of water in the circumstances that we're faced with, especially for a prolonged period that we're expecting. So the period actually is anything between 4 days and 14 days, actually. Because, in circumstances when you're replacing these type of pipings that has never been replaced in the city of Johannesburg for such a long period of time, we can expect, delays with regards to this piping.
Yeah, and this, I suppose, is always going to be the problem, especially those of us who live in Johannesburg. We know that it's going to be 2-3 days for the actual maintenance. It's the restoration V-Wear, which is the problem. I'm very happy to admit I may or may not have filled up my bath this afternoon just to make sure that we got some water in the house in case we need to as well. Just for viewers who aren't quite aware of what the delay actually is, let's move maintenance aside. That's kicking in 6 minutes ago till, as you say, 5 a.m. on Friday. But it's the filling and the refilling of the reservoirs and the system as a whole, which might take a bit more time.
That then could lead to those days that we heard there from Irman, because of that delay of actually filling up then the reservoirs themselves and getting the water from them to the taps at home. The other concern, of course, Gareth, is around businesses. I am in Rosebank at this very moment, just at a street of some pubs. You can only imagine the nightmare that they may be faced with if the water runs out here and the patrons that go inside here need to use their toilets. Not only them. Earlier on, I was at a laundromat that suggested that it will have to shut down its doors over the next coming days because, of course, laundry in its nature needs water. So they can't operate for the next 3 or so days, given if the water does, in fact, return timelessly. So it's a wait and see for a lot of businesses at this stage, especially those that use water. For example, car washes will have to be at a stop. And of course, some concerns coming in from just the residents themselves. A lot of frustrations that we were met with in the course of today. And of course, the frustrations would be heightened given that those days till it takes the water to come back may prove to be lengthy. In fact, let's listen in on some of the Johannesburg residents on what they had to say around their preparations and what may happen if then the water takes a bit longer to get back to their taps.
We have plan B for drinking. I have got some more at home. But we have to make do.
We've got to make a plan and carry on. We've got no option. We can jump, we can scream. Nothing happens. It all depends on this, on the citizen of South Africa, who they vote and who not vote. Everybody is saying this and that. So the bottom line, it boils down to central government. If the central government is corrupted, the whole system is corrupted.
Always use still water because the quality of the water is deteriorating. And now with the closure coming up, I think we have to be prepared. We're trying to get as much water, drinking water especially, for the next couple of days.
We have to fill our pots, everything up. There's nothing we can do. That's the way this country is going.
And what happens if it doesn't come back on Friday as promised and it comes back 14 days later as the suggestion from Johannesburg?
Well, they need to put contingency plans into place. They need to get water trucks out. They must think of the people that are disabled, people that are old, what's going to happen to them.
Yeah, it's such a good point, isn't it, V-Wear? I mean, apart from restaurants and car washes, of course, we have to be very, very clear about the concern for those who are elderly and living in retirement estates, old age homes, whatever term you want to give it. Here's the problem, though. I'm picking up on one of the sound bites that you had from earlier today. This is the country we live in. Tell me what you're making of this. This is actually planned maintenance. Every expert that I had on the South African Morning earlier today was saying that if we didn't do this maintenance now in Joburg, these pipes would eventually break. So we've got a maintenance program underway now, which if we didn't do, we could have a much worse situation in time to come. This is maintenance. This isn't broken down. This is planned maintenance.
Definitely, Gareth, much needed maintenance. In fact, it was the suggestions even from Rand Water. We understand that the aging infrastructure needs to be then replenished. And of course, it is going to help with even just alleviating the burden of water. There are a number of water outages, as you heard from one of the patrons here around Bedford View. So this particular maintenance is to help with those in future. So it is needed, it is necessary. It's not a water crisis or, the water running out, essentially. It is planned and it is for the benefit of Johannesburg residents in their entirety.
Viwe Mtila, thank you very much indeed. So concern, of course, for businesses this evening as well. Senior reporter Viwe Mtila out for us. So it is, looking for a clock, there it is, 10 minutes ago. The major maintenance on the big pipes here in Johannesburg has gotten underway from 7 p.m. this evening till 5 a.m. That doesn't seem to be the issue. The issue concerning a lot of people living in Joburg is how long until the system is filled up again. It's going to be a big concern over the next few days. We've been warned about this. It was delayed, as we know, a couple of weeks ago. We're on it. The latest information we have, we'll bring it to you as well. Don't panic buy. As we've been told, there's no need to panic buy. It's very unlikely you'll have no water pressure. You might just have low water pressure, but it's not to say that is the case for everyone. We'll stay on that story over the next 3 days.